So for attendance today, take a picture of these two formulas so I know you have them. And don't forget to type in your seat. Linear we've already used, but we will be using it in this chapter. Exponential is a new one that we will. We're investing $1,000. We have two different cases and we want to see which will give us a better deal. One would be to get $100, a year. Other one would be to get 8% a year interest. So two different cases. $31,000. Case one was $100 a year. So at the end of the first year, how much would be in the year? So for we'll look at each year, at the end of the year, we'll have $100. Each year it is growing by the same amount. When it's growing by the same amount, that's linear. Is your starting amount. And is your rate. $500 every year. So our slope would be 100 per year. X would be the number of years. Then we start with 1,000. So at time 0, could put a 0 there if you wanted. Times 0, it was 1,000. Any questions on that? Okay, so then here's what we've been working with. A percent, though, when you're finding the percent of each, it's not the same amount that you're making each month. We'll start with 1,000. But after the first year, you're going to have an 8%. Or an increase. You could use the 1+ trick. After the first year, we're making 1,000. Questions on that? I think we're okay with the 1+. Well, after the second year, this much. Another 1+. To show the formula, you can take this value multiplied by 1.08. So in this year, we made $8. In the next year, we made $6.44. It's not the same amount each time. In fact, it's going to keep larger. It's growing exponentially. Notice the first one, there's one of them. Second one, there's two of the 1+ tricks. The third one, there's 3 of them. Fourth one, 4 of them. So the T is your time. One is exponential. I equals your initial amount. Instead of giving you new variables, I figured it was easier just to give you the words for it. Usually this is a Q or and it's usually a T for time. This could also be used if it's decreasing by the same amount, it's just 1 minus. So this exponential could be a plus or minus depending on if it's increasing or decreasing. Our initial amount was 1,000. Decimal and time, you can use an X. In this case, time is years. I probably would change this to A for total amount and Y here because I like to have Y or M or D depending on if it's years, days, months. But it matters on when you know what they are. Questions? simple equation. If E equals 120, 120. X doesn't have to be there. It just means multiplication. Your book uses it. A lot of times, students would like plug in for X, but be careful. It shows multiplication. I tried to carry it along, but I've been trying to pull it out of some of my stuff. I know the homework assignment's still in. Initial amount, that's easy. It's right at the beginning, 120. Relative change. In the formula, we added the 1, take the 1 back out. Subtract that, we have a positive 0.07. The positive means it's increase. And then this is our rate multiplied by 100. Positive, it's an increase. If it's a negative, it's a decrease. The initial amount and the relative change. So when you're asked for relative change, you need to tell me increase and the percent. Getting for the initial amount. Anyone? 472. Is it an increase or a decrease? By how much? 2%. Positive, there's like a decimal by 100 to make that. $521 for the initial. When you subtracted the one, you got a negative. 72 minus 1. Negative just means it was a D. If they take 20% off, you're 72. Got a negative. 0.6 when you subtract it. questions on those? This worksheet that I'm working off of is on Blackboard. So like what it's telling me to do, it's all up there on Blackboard. Because using Excel, how long does it take to double your money? There's two different accounts. Deposit $1,000 and get $100 a year in interest. Then we're going to deposit $1,000 and get 6% per year in interest. So the first thing it says is open an Excel file and label the first three columns as shown. The first column is year. The second one is balance 1. And the next one is balance 2. So if you have your computer, it's a good idea to try these. On the exam, on the homework, you're going to have to attach your Excel file so that I can make sure you're using the formula. Or I'll just make it go down 100 and then you'll have to use a formula because you won't want to type that many. But anyways, we need to put start. Now on the homework, I think I said start with a 1 here. And so we'll just go with it. It'll just be 1 stands for the beginning of a year. Okay, so that's what we're starting with. For years under start, put a 1 in the first year. This is block A3. Click on block A4, which I'm on A4. Type a formula that will give the next year in this column and then drag it down for 12 years. Remember to always use an equal sign when starting a formula. So we want to put a formula so that that next one will be a 2 and then it will keep continuing because you want to take the one before and add 1 to make it a 2. So when you're in this block, equals, and then click on the one before and it'll put that block there for you. And then add 1. I put my equal sign, I clicked on the block above, notice it put A3, and then I added 1. I want 12 years. So if you go in the corner, notice there's a couple different plus signs. There's one with arrows. There's the one, looks like the red cross. And then there's the skinny one. That's the one you want. You left click and drag it down. I'm going to go to 14 because my first 2 rows don't have anything in it. That way I have 12 because it says 12 years. Any questions? Is it working? It says, click on A10, what formula is there? And I would definitely do this on a test. I'll have you click at a certain box, and you tell me the formula, and I know if it's right. Yes? Say that again? For the final, it will be in class, but yes, the next exam, it will be on the take-home. I think. If you do not have a computer, you can borrow one from MOG. I think it's MOG Library. It's either the IT Center or MOG. they're renting it. Not renting, you don't have to pay for it if you're a student. Okay, so if we click on A10, the formula is equals A9 plus 1. So that's what you would write down when it's asking you for a formula. So it would have you click the box and you write equals A9 plus 1. Any questions on that? Next one says click on B3. B3 is right here. Type a formula to show the $100 that is made each year. So balance 1 is the one that's making $100 a year. Drag down to show the total made for the 12 years. Well, if we're here and we're putting in a formula, we start with equals. We're adding 100 to the one before. So when I click on the one before, it automatically puts it in there. And then I want to add 100. Click on the center. Make sure you have this little black plus sign. Left click, drag it all the way down. And at the end of 12 years, you'll have $2,200. It asks, click on B10. What formula is there? B10 is here. My formula is equals B9 plus 100. How many years did it take to double your money? Well, I had 1,000. It took 10 years. It doubled here. So if I keep putting 100 in my account, it will double at 2,000. Any questions? Click on C3. Type a formula that shows the 6% that is made each year. Well, remember each time we took the one before, we multiply by the 1 plus trick. So you don't have to put that whole formula in there when you're doing it on here, because each time you just take the one before and multiply by the 1 plus trick. In this case, it's 6%. So we would put our equal sign, the one before. Now for Excel, multiplication is an asterisk. I highly recommend you write it down because I always get a question on that on the exam. On Excel, multiplication is an asterisk. Can't just put a parenthesis. And then it's up to you if you want to put 1.06, you could, or if you want to do the 1 plus 0.06, you have to put in parentheses. And then 1060. Then if we drag it down, has all your notice that the decimals are and depending on how wide it is, you could have even more decimals. Well, I don't want to make it wider. I want to keep this highlighted for a second. If you want to round to whole numbers, or in this case, we're talking about money, you highlight your values and then you right click it, and it's under Format Cells. You click on Format Cells. I wouldn't use currency if you're manipulating the problem more. It doesn't always work with the formulas for me. I would do that at the very end if you wanted it to look pretty. Because of the dollar sign, something doesn't work right. You can click on number, however many decimal places you want, and hit OK. And I changed it to 2 decimal places. Most it takes 12 years to double your money with the 6% interest. So here we're doubling it. 10 years here we're doubling it. Any questions on that? There is a rule that they use for doubling money called the rule of 70. A lot of times when you open CDs or special savings accounts, they tell you how much you'll make, how long it'll take to double your money. There's actually two rules, 70 and 72, but your book only uses 70, so we'll stick with that. So if you're looking at different accounts and how much interest they're making, you can use this rule to see how long it'll take to double your money. All you do is you take the rule, 70, and divide by the percent. Follow 2. Now the difference between 70 and 72, it splits it at 5%. So if you take a stats class, they're going to show you both. Or business calc will show you both. It splits at 50%. If it's 5%, sorry. If it's below 5%, 70 works better. If it's above, 72 works better. But they're both close. So for this one, we would take 70 divided by the 6 and get 11 point, I think the 6. Almost 12. If we would have used the 72, we get exactly. So the rule of 70, you just take your percent, divide it, and it tells you approximately how long it will take to double your money. Any questions on that? The last one says, how about if we keep the 6% that we had in balance 3? I don't know why I put 3, sorry, this should be a 2. We are going to do a balance 3. But this doubling rule doesn't matter how much you put in. If you watch the last column, right now it's at 1,000 and it doubles in 12 years. If I make that 2,000, still doubling in the 12th year. If I make it 500, still doubling in the 12th year. So whatever your percent is, doesn't matter how much money you put in there, it will double in the same number of years. Any questions on that? Okay, so for balance 3, it's still starting at 1,000, but it says we keep the 6% and add $50 each year. So you're keeping your 6% rate, but you're adding $50 to it. So we would have our equals 6% of the last one. Remember, it's an asterisk. And then we would add 50. So if you had a 6% interest rate, but you also put $50 of your own money each month, then that's how it would grow. Back down. Get rid of a couple of those decimals. Any questions on that? Pause it. That's everything for the outline, but we'll go over our homework. You have your calculator, please get it out. Whatever calculator you're going to use for a test, which means not your phone. There we go. Okay, it's a little hard to see those exponents, but they're fours. So for the first one, these are fours. I don't know why maybe because I zoomed too much. So plug into your calculator 2.06 to the 4, round to the 100. Depending on your calculator, you might have to use a caret or some of them have x to the y. At 8, no, 100. So the 100th position would be the second. Everyone get me. Don't have your calculator, make sure you check these at home. This is more for the co-rec class, but it's amazing some things how you don't know how to use them. E to the 4th. Now there's 2 e's on your calculator. One of them is with the natural log, and that's the one you want. It says e to the x. Most calculators, when you hit the button, do this. Put your number in. 2 of them will just go up into the exponent, which is fine. We should get P4.6. It was 5.9. Gonna round this up. Questions on that? It's by your LN button. So you'll have to hit, and it should be on the left side. Second in that button. Put the 4 in there. Oh, that one. Oh, it's this caret here. Yeah. So if you have calculator 0.06, if you have the caret button, you can use it. If you don't have an X to the Y, and I forget what order you have to put them in. I think you put Y first. I think what you have to do is you have X to the Y, 0.06, and then there's an X to the Y, and then the 4. Okay. Does anyone have the X to the Y? Yeah, a button that has an X, Y, or Y in it. I think this is how you use it. I forgot to bring that calculator. I like, if you're not doing, you don't want to spend a lot on a calculator. This one, the TI-30X is really nice. I like that it shows the whole equation when you type it. And for, I think I bought one today. $5. You can find them at Walmart for around $10. Depending on your calculators, you either use caret, X to the Y. TI-84, when you hit the caret, it automatically goes up in the exponent. Just remember when you have to come back down, and you come back down. That's fine. Okay, how about the last one? What do you get? To the 0 power. Yeah, it's just for multiplication. 5. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So anything to the 0 power is 1. Any questions on the calculator? Don't be afraid to ask. Each calculator is different, but natural log is on the left side somewhere on your calculator, and the E is right above it. So you have to hit second and E to get that. If you use the plain E, which is somewhere near the division sign, there to go into the exponent. Deposit 7,000 into an account and makes $50 interest a year. Is that linear or exponential? $50 a year. Linear, because it's the same amount each time. Write the equation for the amount after T years. Now, if you want to use T, you can. If you want to use X, you can. But remember, linear means it's Y equals MX50. If you're going to use T, T is just where your X is. Go ahead and write the equation. What is M? And B is what? Now you could have used X, it doesn't matter to me, but 50T plus 7,000 or 50X plus 7,000. Any questions on the equation? How much is in the account after 25 years? Where should we plug the 25 in? Because T is time. Y is the amount, in this case, after. Does anyone want to say what they're getting? $1,250 at the end of 25. Any questions on that? Go ahead and try the third one. Deposit 7,000 into an account that makes 12% interest per year. A linear or exponential? Exponential because it's growing by a percent. Each year it'll be a different amount that it increases. What's the equation? I equals questions on that. This one said 25 years also. Large number. 119,000. Or something in that. Looks like some students had questions, so most of them are, what's the pennies? 45, yeah, 45. If you could, Any questions on that? Fill in the table below with the initial cost and the relative change. For relative change, state increasing or decreasing and the percent. It alternates increasing. Don't forget to put increasing, decreasing, whichever it is, plus the percent. Is there any that you need to go over? You're good. If not, send me a text. I know the next one. A little different. I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting. It's from your book, but on April 9th, 2011, the New York Times, move it down some more. There we go. The New York Times reported that a pawn shop opened in Blockbuster store. The borrowers are given 60 days to pay back the loan, and La Familia charges 20% interest per month. So for a $100 loan, the borrower would need to pay back $140 after 60 days. Explain why 20% interest per month on a loan for 2 months would actually require a little more than $140. And what is the annual interest rate? So we'll do the first part. If we have a loan for $100, and we are paying a 20% interest rate. The 1+ trick to see what we need the first month. We need $120. For the second month, it's not 20% of the 100, it's 20% of the part that you didn't pay. So you also have to pay 20% of this $20, and that's why the 140 is wrong. actually have to pay $144. $4 doesn't sound much, but as time goes on, if you still don't pay it, it's going to keep going up. Any questions on that? So for the first one, you want to explain that it's not 140, it's 144 because the second month you're paying 20% on that $20 from the month before. You could have also found this by using our formula, initial amount, 1 plus 0.20. And in this case, our exponent is months because this is per month. So it would have been 2. You still get 140. Any questions on that part? Now, to find the annual rate, we need to use relative percent change. But we need to know how much it would be at the end of a year. So we take our $100. If we want to know the total amount we'd owe at the end of a year, what should we put in our exponent? Because it's 20% per month. So our $100, if we don't pay anything back, at the end of a year, how much do we owe? So your $100 that you've borrowed, 20% per month interest rate, at the end of a year, you owe $891.61. Now we can use relative percent change to find the annual rate. Remember, new minus old divided by old. $91 that you now owe. Old is your original that you owed. And if we want to make it a percent, we multiply by it. You should get so their annual rate is $791.60. So I thought it was an interesting problem. It kind of brought a little bit that we've used from other chapters in. Any questions on it? No questions? For the last part, I am going to have to flip to Excel. Open an Excel file and type into each column under its letter as shown. So it says first one month, and it says to put a 1. Second one Antonio, 100, and Marcello, 500. So it says in column A, use the formula in row 3 to continue adding 1. Then drag it down to show 48 months. We have a 1 here. In A3, you want to type a formula that will add 1. And then we're going to go all the way down. You'll have to go to the 49 to get 48 months because we're starting at the second one this time. For formula, we want the 1 before, and then we're going to keep adding a 1. So we use equals click on the one before, and then add one. And then drag it all the way down to the 49. Bless you. Would you go one more? 48 months. Says to click on A30. What formula do you have? You should have equals A29 plus 1. Now, if you don't have your computer, you are going to have to turn in your Excel file, so make sure you do it at home. Any questions on that part? Antonio decides he does not want his money in the bank and puts $100 under his bed every month. Under his name in the third row, type a formula that will calculate each month and show the total in the account, and then drag down for 4 years he's in college. So he's going to put $100 a month. So the first month he put 100, the second month he's going to put 100. You can't type 100 each time. So we want equals the one before, B2 plus 100 plus 100. So the formula was equals, and then I clicked on the one above it and plus 100. Then when you drag down, it just keeps changing that B2 to the next one. Down to the 48. $100 a month. At the end, he has $4,800. Any questions? It asks what formula we have at B30. B30 is right here. I have equals B29 plus 100. So make sure if you're doing this at home, write these equations down so then you know you have it. Marcello puts 500 in per month. Marcello says, well, I just had my graduation party from high school, so I'm going to put $500 of the money that I receive at a savings account for 4 years of college. I found one that makes 5% per month. So he's making 5%. Equals initial amount times, remember, is an asterisk. And then your 1 plus trick. 1 plus 5%. Yeah. 0.05. So each time it will multiply by 1.05. Corner down. I'm gonna give it 2 cents. So you right click, go to formula, number, 2 decimal places. Click on C3, what formula is there? Or C30, sorry. Equals C29 asterisk parentheses. So you want to type exactly as it shows. Any questions? C. In what month did Marcello's savings pass Antonio's savings back up? Because at first, Marcello put 500 in there, so he was above for a while. But then, right here, Antonio passes him. So to see where Marcello passed him back up, Anywhere? Oh, this one. So it took 47 months before Marcello's money passed him on. Almost 4 years. So in the 47th month, Marcello passed Antonio back up. Now the middle column is Antonio, the end one is Marcello. How much money in Antonio's savings account was money he put there? So of the 4,800, how much of it did Marcello put there? I mean, Antonio, sorry. And this first person, he put $100 a month under his bed. How much of it was money he put there? All of it, $4,800. So yeah, he has almost the same as Marcello, but he put $4,800 of his own money in it. How about Marcello? How much money did he put in this account? He only put the 500 in the beginning and let the bank use it. So when you're letting the bank use your money, you make interest on it, and he made $4,900, but only put 500 in. Right now, it's hard to find an interest rate above 2%. So if you find something more than that, you should grab it. And he only put 500, and at the end of 4 years, he had almost $5,000. Any questions on that? Okay, so if you did not use the formulas today, make sure you try them so I know and you know that you understand how to put them in. But if you do not have any questions, then that is it for today. We have credit score. My one